Now we know a little bit about waves having wavelength and frequency and speed. We'll look at the phenomena of light. Now, when we think of light, we're usually talking about visible light. That's only a very small portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, a whole range of frequencies. What do you think this is a picture of? It is, of course, the sun. It's the sun in visible light. This is the sun shining in visible light, but we can't look directly at it. If we were to look at the sun with our eyes, it'll burn out our retina, especially if you use binoculars or a telescope, you'll totally destroy your eyes. So this is the sun with very heavy, thick filters in front, and it looks like a sort of smooth sphere with little sunspots of activity on it there where there's heightened activity. But the sun isn't just giving off visible light, it's giving off all the different colours of the rainbow and different frequencies. Now, if we put a coloured filter in front, like this one, a blue filter, that stops all colours apart from blue, so we can see how much blue light's being given off by the sun. A red filter will show us how much red light's being given off by the sun. But there are other frequencies too. We can't see them with our eyes, but if we use an infrared detector, we would see that the sun is giving off plenty of infrared light. Infrared, of course, we perceive it as warmth, as heat, so we know the sun gives off infrared. But it also gives off microwaves. Look at the wavelength there, 1.7 centimeters. That's quite a long wavelength. So the sun is streaming out microwaves all the time into the universe. But it's also giving off ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light is, of course, dangerous. We say it's ionizing, which means the wavelength is short enough at 19.5 nanometers. That's 19.5 times 10 to the minus 9. So you've got 9 zeros on the left-hand side of that number. Very, very short wavelength, and it's short enough to knock out electrons out of atoms. And if those atoms happen to be in your cells, in your DNA, then it's either going to kill the cell, which we call sunburn, or it's going to damage the DNA, which we call cancer. So ultraviolet light is very dangerous for humans and for all life. So going out sunbathing, you're taking the risk that you're going to get a tan, which is sunburn, which is damaging your cells, or you're going to damage your DNA and get cancer. So we've got to be careful with this, with these very short wavelengths, with these very high frequency lights. Now, X-rays are even more dangerous. Now, the sun does give off a lot of X-rays, as you can see in this picture, but fortunately they get absorbed by the Earth's atmosphere, so they don't reach the ground to get to us. So that's a quick summary of the light that the sun's giving off, a whole range of frequencies, a whole range of wavelengths. Now, this is a diagram we need to be familiar with. On the left-hand side of that wiggly line, you can see it's got a long wavelength. And on the right-hand side, it's got a very short wavelength. On the left, we say that it's low frequency, and on the right, we say it's high frequency. And we can split this wobbly wave in. Have a look at these pictures. There's a microwave, an eye, a TV, an X-ray picture of some bones, a radio mast, a controller, remote control for a TV, an X-ray machine, a potato, a light bulb, and a digital radio. Now, each of these objects is either a detector, that it picks up radiation, or it's an emitter, and that it gives off radiation. And in your document, you're going to decide which ones are the emitters and which ones are the detectors, and you're going to join them up and pair them up. On this page, you can see 6 keywords that you're going to define. Again, in your document, get the best definition and define them there. And the final task, where you'll spend the most of your time, can you write a report on each of the 7 wavelength bands of radiation and describe their uses and their dangers? So for each one, from radio waves through to gamma rays, what are they used for and what are the dangers?